All right, we are still monitoring developments in Montgomery, Alabama, where Roy Moore's campaign is going to respond, presumably, to this accuser who admitted that she wrote part of that yearbook inscription that was up to now attributed to Judge Moore. So when they get to the podium, we'll get to them. In the meantime, Fox News correspondent, former U.S. Navy fighter pilot Lea Gabrielle on all of these developments. And, you know, Lea, going back and forth about, I guess, this issue few people talk about. You want this to be an opportunity for women to get this behind them, to move on. But I raised the issue of my daughter and her workforce, where it could be counterproductive, right? Again, to male colleagues or bosses, they're much more scrutinized, much more careful in their behavior. So it could actually, even in this new environment, hurt them.
Yeah, you know, first, Neil, I just want to commend the women who are true victims, who come forward and have, you know, developed the bravery to come forward on this. But at the same time, we need to not create a hostile environment for good men who want to work with women and want to help them grow in their careers, because I see an environment developing where good, hardworking men feel like they just can't be themselves at work because they're so afraid that any interaction could turn south on them. And next thing they know, they're pulled into HR, they're fired, or they're being sued. And it actually backfires on women, because then those men who would otherwise want to work with women and want to help develop their talent, they just want to stay away from them. This is something that I saw when I entered the Naval Academy in 1993, right after Tailhook. If you remember, Tailhook was a huge scandal. It changed the culture of the military in many ways, but a woman had been chained to a urinal at the Naval Academy. Tailhook had happened. I entered the Naval Academy, and when I went in, I noticed that a lot of men just wanted to stay away from women because they didn't want to get kicked out. They didn't want to get in trouble. So what that ultimately resulted in is, for me, I needed to be part of that team. I needed to fit in. So I had to overcompensate. I had to work really hard to be a part of the team so that the good guys would want to help me along and be part of the team and develop my career. But then what ends up happening is I ended up accepting a lot more of inappropriate behavior than I should have, because I was trying so hard to be part of the team.
But should you have had to do that? And by the way, I'm talking with the position here. We are working at a big old, you know, glass house here, and everything that's gone on with Fox. So not cast aspersions on any particular group or anyone. You know, those who live in glass houses, you know the drill. But do you think it goes to the point, and did you experience in the military, that you just had to bob and weave and be flexible on this?
Absolutely. And I think it's brave of you to talk about this, Neil, because I think that a lot of men feel right now like, you know, how can I go right? I'm a good, hardworking man. How can I go right when I want to help women with their careers and not cause myself a problem? And as far as trying to, you know, having to, bop and weave, as you said, absolutely. And what I found is that when people did cross the line, I was not willing to put my career and what I had worked so hard for. I was an F-18 pilot. I deployed with SEALs in Afghanistan. I wasn't willing to damage my own career by calling somebody out, because it would have basically made me an island. It would have made me an outcast.
So what did you do?
So instead, I had to deal with it on my own terms the best I could. And as I grew and I matured, I learned how to handle it better. And I think it's very important.
Did you fear retribution?
I feared retribution, absolutely. But what I learned to do is that when somebody approached me, I would be very direct with them and let them know that what they were doing was inappropriate. And I think women and men, because men are harassed too sometimes by women, it goes both ways, and we don't talk about that a lot. But I learned that when it happens, you need to be very direct. You need to tell the person that what they're doing is inappropriate. And if it's not egregious, you need to give them a second chance. You know, you need to let them correct themselves.
But
now, if it's egregious,
then when this happens, like, how do you define it?
Somebody
once
asked me, how do you know when you're being sexually harassed? And I said to them, because you will have absolutely no question in your mind. It will be so uncomfortable. You will know the person knows that they're doing it to you. Sometimes a guy might say, hey, that's a pretty dress. Some women might take it the wrong way, right? And so that's when you say, you know, I'd rather you just not talk about my appearance, and just be very direct right back to them. But look, we just can't create a hostile work environment for men.
But is that where we're at now? In other words, is there the corporate way is the charges come up, the guy goes out. In Congress, it takes a while, unless Trent Franks, the new stuff materializes and he's out like immediately. Yeah. But that's unusual. So is there a middle ground, or what do you recommend?
I think there has to be a middle ground. I think that all sides, it has to be fair to all sides. Somebody's not guilty until they're proven guilty in this country. And so they deserve to be treated fairly on both sides. And I'm not saying, I absolutely want women to come forward when they have truly been victimized, but I think it's important to recognize that the other side's being victimized too in some cases here. And the backlash is that it hurts us in the workplace when we're in a male-dominated workplace and we want to grow in our career, because the men just are going to shy away from trying to help us.
Do you find males here have been different?
Yes.
Really?
I'm glad you bring that up, because our company has been talked about, and I know that there is a level of discomfort. People who I am friends with, you know, if you're personally friends with them and something's happened in their life, you know, maybe they've lost a loved one and you want to give them a hug, I feel like at this point you need to say, is it okay for me to give you a hug? And then they say, yes, I'm comfortable with you giving me a hug. I mean, it's very robotic, and I think it's something that we're all experiencing right now, and not just here, but, you know, across different cultures, work cultures. But nobody's really talking about it, and I think that it's something we need to talk about. It needs to be fair. And I also want to say, you know, when people of power approach people who want to grow in their career, and they basically let them know that they could have an opportunity if they cross this line with them, it's very important not to dangle a carrot on a stick. In other words, not to play this game of cat and mouse, be coy about it because you want that person to help you. It's never going to work out that way. It's very important to put your foot down and say, that's not going to happen with me. And then and sometimes, yeah, they may not help you in your career, but then you can look yourself in the mirror and go, I didn't take the kind of help I didn't want.